Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS Speaking Part 3. Our topic is going to be tourism. Tourism. In this lesson, we are going to look at some questions and some sample answers. At the end of this lesson, I'm going to give you some really helpful tips to ensure that you score a very high band in your IELTS speaking test. But before we begin the lesson, have you subscribed to the channel? If you haven't subscribed, then please subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up. Also remember to share this video with other people that you think may need the video. Remember, sharing is caring. So do not keep the video to yourself. Share the video with other people so that they can benefit from the video. That way, we're going to make our world a better place through sharing. Now let's begin our lesson. If you're planning to sit for your IELTS speaking test, then there is a chance that the examiner may ask you some of these questions in Part 3. In Part 3, the examiner will begin by saying to you, let's talk about tourism. Question 1. Why do tourists visit other countries? Why do tourists visit other countries? In this question, the examiner wants to know some of the reasons as to why people visit other countries as tourists. What are the reasons? When you visit another country as a tourist, what are the reasons as to why you travel or you go there? Now, you can answer this question by saying, tourists visit other countries on holidays mainly to unwind and re-energize, but also experience new cultures, go on adventures, and interact with the locals. Tourists visit other countries on holidays mainly to unwind and re-energize, but also experience new cultures, go on adventures, and interact with the locals. In that answer, I have explained some reasons as to why I think tourists visit other countries. I pointed out that they go there on holiday, mainly to unwind. To unwind is to relax. Unwind is a band 9 word which simply means to relax. If you're very tired, you can say, oh, I need some time to unwind. It means I need some time to relax. So, they visit other countries to unwind and re-energize. To re-energize is to get energy, to become energetic, to re-energize. But also to experience new cultures. For example, personally, when I visit a country as a tourist, I like to experience new cultures, go on adventures, and interact with the locals. Locals means the natives, the people who live in that country. So in that answer, we have 5 reasons as to why tourists visit other countries. The first reason is to unwind or to relax. The other one is to re-energize, to become energetic. The other reason is to experience new cultures. The next one is to go on adventures. For example, you can choose to go skydiving when you go on holiday. Okay, you can choose to go diving, for example. All these are different types of adventures that you can explore when you go on holiday. But also to interact with the local people, to learn their language, to enjoy their food. Okay, now, question 2. How do tourists choose their destination? How do tourists choose their destination? The key word in that question is how. In that question, the examiner wants you to explain, how do tourists choose their destination? What sort of things do tourists take into consideration before they choose their holiday destination? Destination is where they're going to spend their holiday. What sort of things do they consider before they decide where they're going to go on holiday? Now, you can answer this question by saying, majority of the tourists choose their destinations depending on their budget, the weather, what type of activities they would like to do on holiday, how safe that country is, and what tourist attractions a country has. How far the country is located is also a determining factor. Majority of the tourists choose their destinations depending on their budget, the weather, what type of activities they would like to do while on holiday, how safe that country is, and what type of tourist attractions a country has. How far the country is located is also a determining factor. In that answer, I have identified a number of things that tourists think about before they choose which country they are going to go their holiday. I have identified what sort of things tourists take into consideration before they choose their holiday destination, before they decide in which country are we going to spend our holiday. They think about their budget. Budget means how much money you have to spend on a holiday. That is your budget. Then the weather. Is it raining there? Is it warm? What season is it? Is it winter? Is it spring? Is it summer? All these things are very important. For example, if you want to go skiing, you want to go to a place where there is snow, and that means that probably you would want to go there in the winter. On the other hand, if you want to spend your time basking, enjoying the sun, then you want to go somewhere where it is summer. So the weather plays a very important part, a very important role when you are choosing where you're going to go on your holiday. The other thing is what type of activities you would like to do on holiday. Like I said earlier on, if you want to go skiing, then you want to go to a country where it is winter and where there is a chance of having snow there. On the other hand, if you want to go skydiving, then you want to go to a country which probably has sunny weather. So the type of activities you like to do when you're on holiday determine where you're going to go on your holiday. If you like it, and if you enjoy walking in nature, then you want to make sure that you go to a country where there are a lot of natural reserves for you to enjoy. The other factor is how safe a country is. Tourists choose their destination depending on the safety of a country. How safe is it? And also they consider what tourist attractions are there in a country. What are the tourist attractions? For example, some tourists like to visit historical sites. Some people like to go on holiday and enjoy nature or enjoy being in national parks. So they will choose a country where there is a chance of them seeing animals, for example. And then finally, how far is the country located? How far is it? How many hours does it take for you to get there? How many days, for example? So the distance of the country you want to visit is also a determining factor. A determining factor simply means is also an important factor. So majority of the tourists choose their destinations depending on their budget, the weather, what type of activities they would like to do on holiday, how safe that country is, and what tourist attractions a country has. How far the country is located is also a determining factor. Now let's look at question 3. What kind of transport do you prefer when you're on holiday, and why? What kind of transport do you prefer when you're on holiday, and why? In this question, the examiner wants to know, when you are on holiday, what kind of transport do you prefer? We have different forms of transport. We have flights, for example. If you want to fly, we have flights, we have buses, we have trains, we have trams, okay? All these are, we even have taxis. All these are different kinds of transport. So the examiner wants to know, when you are on holiday, what kind of transport do you prefer and why? Now you can answer this question by saying, while on holiday, I prefer to use public transport, for instance, trains and buses, because it is cheaper than hiring a taxi or a private car. Quite often though, I opt to walk as it is healthier and better for the environment. While on holiday, I prefer to use public transport, for instance, trains and buses, because it is cheaper than hiring a taxi or a private car. Quite often though, I opt to walk as it is healthier and better for the environment. So in that answer, I have identified what kind of transport I prefer to use when I'm on holiday, and I have given plenty of reasons why. I pointed out that while on holiday, I prefer to use public transport. For example, or for instance, trains and buses. And the reason for that is because it is cheaper than hiring a taxi or a private car. But I also pointed out that I opt to walk quite often. So quite often, very frequently, I choose to walk as it is healthier and better for the environment. So in the first part of the answer, I pointed out that while I'm on holiday, I prefer to use public transport, for example, trains and buses. And the reason for that is because it is cheaper. But quite often, I opt to walk. And the reason for that is because it is healthier and better for the environment. Now let's move on to question 4. Do you prefer traveling alone or with tour groups, and why? Do you prefer traveling alone or with tour groups, and why? In that question, the examiner wants to know, when you're on holiday, when you travel, do you prefer to do it on your own, that is alone, or do you prefer to do it with a tour group, where you are a group of people traveling together, and why? What do you prefer and why? Now you can answer this question by saying, personally, I prefer traveling with tour groups due to the fact that I get the chance to socialize with others and enjoy the adventures with them. That makes the holiday more fun as well as memorable. Personally, I prefer traveling with tour groups due to the fact that I get the chance to socialize with others and enjoy the adventures with them. That makes the holiday more fun as well as memorable. So in that question, I have identified what I personally prefer. I began by saying, personally, okay, I prefer traveling with tour groups due to the fact that I get the chance to socialize with others. So that is the reason. That's the first reason. I get the chance to socialize with others, that is to mix with others. Second reason, I get the chance to enjoy the adventures with them. The third reason, it makes it more fun. And the fourth reason, it's more memorable. Memorable means that you can remember it for a long time. So in that answer, I have identified my choice and given the reasons. It is extremely important that you give an elaborate answer. It is also extremely important that you respond to all the parts of the question. And this brings me to the next section of our lesson, where I'm going to give you some tips from the sample answers to ensure that you pass your IELTS speaking test with a very high band. Tip number 1, make sure that you understand the question. Listen really carefully to the examiner and identify the key word or keywords in the question. The first question is, why do tourists visit other countries? Why? The key word is why. The examiner wants reasons. The second question, how do tourists choose their destination? The key word is how. Question 3, what kind of transport do you prefer when you're on holiday and why? The key words in that question are what and why. Question 4, do you prefer traveling alone or with tour groups? Why? The key words in that question are do and why. So the first most important tip, listen really carefully to the examiner. Make sure you understand what the examiner is asking you by identifying the keywords in the question. If you don't understand the question, do not be afraid to ask the examiner, could you repeat that please? Or if the examiner uses a word that you don't understand, just ask the examiner, excuse me, could you explain that word for me please? You will not get penalized. It is better than pretending that you understand the question and then you start giving answers that are completely irrelevant. Do not be afraid. Simply ask the examiner, kindly, could you kindly explain that word please? Excuse me, could you repeat that question please? Now, that is tip number 1. Tip number 2, for each of the question, you are expected to give elaborate and detailed answers. Do not simply give one word answer or 2 word. Try to elaborate your answer. Why do tourists visit other countries? You can see I have given a number of reasons there, okay? To unwind, to re-energize, to experience new cultures, to go on adventures, to interact with the locals. So ensure that you give an elaborate answer, a detailed answer. How do tourists choose their destination? Depending on their budget, the weather, what type of activities they would like to do on holiday, how safe that country is, the tourist attractions in that country, and how far the country is located. Very detailed answer, okay? So ensure that for each question you provide a detailed answer. Tip number 3. Join all those ideas together that you have for each question using linking words or linkers. So for each question, make sure that you have at least 3 to 4 ideas. Then join your ideas together using linking words. In all the sample answers, I have written the linking words in red. In question 1, we have and, but also. In question 2, we have and, also. Question 3, we have for instance, because, quite often though, as, and. In question 4, the linking words are due to the fact that, and, as well as. Okay, so make sure that you use linking words, but please use the linking words correctly. You will not be penalized if you don't use any linking words. However, you will get a lower band if you use linking words incorrectly. So make sure that you use the linking words correctly. If you're not very confident about using linking words, I have a video that I have uploaded about connectors or linking words. Have a look at that video and you will become more confident and know how to use linking words. Now, the next tip that is extremely important is that use the correct vocabulary for the topic that you're talking about. In this case, you're talking about tourism. So ensure that you have the right vocabulary for each of the questions. I have underlined all the important words that would help you to talk about this topic in black for you. In all the sample answers, I have underlined the words for you. In question 1, we have unwind, re-energize, new cultures, adventures, the locals. Question 2, budget, weather, activities, safe, tourist attractions, located. Question 3, cheaper, healthier, environment. Question 4, socialize, enjoy the adventures, more fun, memorable. So use the correct vocabulary for the topic that you're talking about. The next tip is ensure that you use a variety of sentence structures in your answers. You're expected to use simple, complex, and compound sentences. A simple sentence has one verb. A compound sentence has two verbs. A complex sentence has three or more verbs. If you want to get a band 8 or a band 9, you're expected to be using a lot of complex sentences. Now, this is a band 9. These sample answers are band 9. So you notice that I have used a lot of complex sentences. Now, you know a complex sentence because it has more than two verbs. Tourists visit other countries on holidays, mainly to unwind and re-energize, but also experience new cultures, go on adventures, and interact with the locals. Another signal to know a complex sentence is that it has more than two linking words. Let's look at sample 2, for example. Majority of the tourists choose their destinations depending on their budget, the weather, what type of activities they would like to do on holiday, how safe that country is, and what tourist attractions a country has. That is a complex sentence. And then we have how far the country is located is also a determining factor. That is a compound sentence. Okay, so use a variety of sentence structures in your sample, in your answers. If you want to get a band 8 or band 9, like I said, you are expected to be using a lot of complex sentences. Okay, sample answer 3, while on holiday, I prefer to use public transport, for instance, trains and buses, because it is cheaper than hiring a taxi or a private car. Another complex sentence. Quite often, though, I opt to walk as it is healthier and better for the environment. You could decide that is a complex sentence. It could also be a compound sentence. Now, the last sentence, sample answer 4. Personally, I prefer traveling with tour groups due to the fact that I get the chance to socialize with others and enjoy adventures with them. Complex sentence. That makes the holiday more fun as well as memorable. Compound sentence. And this brings me to the last tip and the most important that is going to determine what band you're going to get. And that is grammar. The tense that you use when you're giving your answers is extremely important. Even if you use a variety of sentence structures, you use the correct vocabulary, okay? If your grammar, if your tense is not correct, then you will get a low band automatically. Now, how do you know the right tense to use? Just listen to the question. If the question is in the present tense, give your answers in the present tense. Why do tourists visit other countries? The verb is do. That is in the present tense. So give your answers in the present tense. Tourists visit. Visit is a verb in the present tense. Okay? Unwind, re-energize, go on adventures, interact, go, visit. All those verbs are in the present tense. Question 2. How do tourists choose their destination? How do they? The verb is do. It's in the present tense. So use the present tense to give your answers. Majority of the tourists choose. The verb is choose. It's in the present tense. Okay? So use the correct tense. Make sure you have good subject-verb agreement. Make sure that you use your prepositions correctly. If you're not confident about that, I have a complete playlist about English grammar. I even have a playlist that will teach you the 13 tenses that we have in grammar. Now, this brings me to the last section of this lesson where I'm going to read for you the questions and the sample answers. Are you ready? Okay, let's begin. Question 1. Why do tourists visit other countries? Tourists visit other countries on holidays mainly to unwind and re-energize, but also experience new cultures, go on adventures, and interact with the locals. Question 2. How do tourists choose their destination? Majority of the tourists choose their destinations depending on their budget, the weather, what type of activities they would like to do while on holiday, how safe that country is, and what tourist attractions a country has. How far the country is located is also a determining factor. Question 3. What kind of transport do you prefer when you're on holiday? Why? While on holiday, I prefer to use public transport, for instance trains and buses, because it is cheaper than hiring a taxi or a private car. Quite often though, I opt to walk as it is healthier and better for the environment. Question 4. Do you prefer traveling alone or with tour groups? Why? Personally, I prefer traveling with tour groups due to the fact that I get the chance to socialize with the others and enjoy the adventures with them. That makes the holiday more fun as well as memorable. Now, this brings me to the last section of our lesson where it's your turn. This time, I'm going to read the questions and please give your answers. Are you ready for the challenge? Let's begin. Question 1. Why do tourists visit other countries? Question 2. How do tourists choose their destination? Question 3. What kind of transport do you prefer when you're on holiday? Why? Question 4. Do you prefer traveling alone or with tour groups? Why? Now, I hope you're able to answer those questions correctly. But if you had a few problems, don't worry at all. Because you have the sample answers, you can practice and practice until you get better. Because practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the better you get. If you're going to be sitting for your IELTS speaking test in the near future, I wish you all the best. Remember, you can do it. All you have to do is practice. Because practice will make you will loosen up your tongue. It's going to give you more confidence. It's going to help you to determine your tempo. The speed with which you speak English is going to improve the more you practice, because practice makes perfect. Now, if you found this lesson helpful, if you learned something new from this lesson, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more useful content, and share this video on all your social media platforms, for example, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Instagram, on Twitter. Remember, sharing is caring. I have shared this video with you with a lot of love. Please share this video with other people and spread the world, spread your love, and let's make this world a better place by sharing. Now, thank you very much and see you in our next video. Bye bye.